All right, everyone, welcome to episode 5. We are here, if you're watching this on video, in the flesh together. We booked an Airbnb today. We're sitting on a horse farm with a lightning storm in the background.
Super
Eh,
cute.
Super cute, super bougie. We're having a couple pops. We're doing a deep dive into our business. And today we are going to talk about collaboration versus competition and why I don't really agree with that statement and what I think instead.
Yeah, I think we have a bit of a different opinion on it. I mean, I think we align with a lot of things in relation to collaboration and competition. But with that being said, I know the industry right now is so heavy on collaboration, and we both agree on that. So let's put that out there first and foremost. We love collaboration. That's why we're here in this Airbnb because both of us are collaborating and sharing everything in terms of our business because we know it's worked for us in the past. So that's why we're here. This is like a quarterly mastermind that we're going to start doing. So, with that being said, you are very heavy in the competition, and I do agree with most of it. And that's why it works for us because we do compete against each other. So, that's really what we're going to touch on today, the difference between the two and why we think both are a must in our industry.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm the youngest of 7, so that inherently makes me very competitive. I think that a lot of what goes on with collaboration is super important. Like Tom and I share virtually everything in our business. There's quite a group of us within the company that share everything with each other. So we feed off those ideas. That said, the two of us are also super competitive with one another to the point where we will check in and be like, hey, how many files have you funded? What's your volume? Where are you at? And we've done that from before you even joined the brokerage and when we were at other places. And like I find it's very motivating. I'm always like, shit, I don't want to fall behind Tom, have Tom pass me. And, or you'll say, hey, I did this and I got X amount of leads. I'm like, crap, I'm going to do that as well, which is the collaboration piece. But then I'm going to add this extra layer because I'm competitive, which then only fuels the collaboration.
Yeah, exactly, man. I remember when you first joined the industry as like, all right, let's see how this goes. And your first year, you just fucking crushed it. And I'm like, dude, like I gotta get going on this because I don't want this guy passing me right now. And it's that healthy competition. Like you're my good buddy. Like I of course want to see you succeed, but at the same time, I want to be competitive. And I think that's what people have to keep in mind is that you do need to have that drive and still have that collaboration. And I think we can maybe really give some examples on both in terms of like going super granular and giving examples of like one collaboration, what are we doing to collaborate with each other, and two, what are we doing to compete with each other. So really right now at this Airbnb, what we're doing is we're breaking everything down in terms of like different processes in our business. So we're going over lead gen, client journey, database marketing, even like tech, what we're using for tech. And we're just doing a whole overview of our business. And it kind of ties into that like halfway point of the year. And it really falls into that last episode that we just did. So what we're doing is we're reviewing everything, taking away the best ideas from what has done well for both of our businesses. And that's where we're at today is we're starting with what lead gen.
Yeah, we've got a long list of things we're going to go over. So we've left the wife and kids at home for each of us. We've got this romantic retreat. We're going to dive into these topics. And I think a
Did you
big
mention
piece,
the hot tub?
we definitely got a hot tub too. So a big piece of it is just saying, okay, where can we share expenses? Where do we have duplication where it doesn't make sense? And collaborating on those pieces. But then also to say, okay, if both Tom and I are testing this strategy, we're split testing through different beings, different markets, different entities that way. And then let's share the results. And that's the competition piece. So, can we create a webinar together that I generate 5 times more leads than Tom from? Obviously, Tom's going to say, okay, what did you do differently? Or how are you pumping it out there? And that's the competition piece that edges things further, which I think a lot of people are missing. There's a lot of sharing of strategy, but there's not a lot of sharing of results. And if you look at anything like the fastest runner, the the man on the moon, like that's a result of Russia competing with US. Like different things, all this productivity and results get driven from there being an element of competition. The goal is the same. We all want to have thriving businesses that support our family and grow our bottom line. Um, but we need to have someone to pace yourself with. So have those people you can collaborate with, but also have that person who's willing to say, "Hey, you know what? I'm at 15 million this year. What are you at? Oh, I'm at 19. How are you at 19?" And you share those little things you did there so that that person is now at 19. Maybe they share something with you that pushes you to 21. So it's a beautiful relationship that way.
That's exactly it, and to really touch on that, that webinar piece is that's something we did earlier on this year is we're like, "Okay, what are we using for webinar software? Let's compare because we were using 2 different platforms. So then we looked over that and we're like, "Okay, which one do you think we should proceed with?" Because what we did is we just used one platform after and shared the expense, so we're cutting the cost in half, and we were able to still use our own branding, our own email and our own emails, like everything was still the same, only we're housed under one account, which was great. So you're splitting the costs in half. And then on top of that, we were also seeing what each other are doing. So then I would be like, hey, Brandon, like, do you want to, like, maybe I'll create the presentation. Maybe you'll create the email marketing that we're going to do to have that set off for anyone that signs up. So one person is taking care of one piece versus the other guys doing the other piece, which you're cutting their workload in half, which creates a higher output of you getting things out there faster. And it just snowballs from there.
For sure. And we paced ourselves accordingly because it's like I don't want to feel that Tom is contributing too much to this project versus me and vice versa. So we were both really aggressive in what we were bringing to the table and it was like an internal competition to see who was driving the project that much further. But as a result, we're in July, we're 7 months into the year. We started this in January. We are we've accomplished some really big projects which reflecting on we realize we're a result of a combination of both collaboration and competition. Collaboration on its own wouldn't be enough because there had to be that driving force to fuel the machine.
Yeah, and I think like for anyone listening that's thinking of doing something like this, obviously we both highly recommend doing it, but where do you start? And I think for yourself, like if you're listening to this and you're like, hey, I need to find someone that I align with, I think that's your first start. Like find someone that you A get along with, B might be your friend, or maybe just someone that you've kind of hit the ground running in like different trainings or different programs that you've been in the industry and reach out to them. Say, hey, do you want to be my accountability partner? Do you want to partner up on this, or this? And make sure they're at the same point in your business too. Like if you're, say, 100 mil producer and this other person is like a 20 mil producer, it's not the same thing because that 100 mil producer is running a full, like maybe two or three staffings, right? Versus the 20 mil producer might be one or two staffings. So it's a different structure, and you might not have be in the same position in the business.
So I agree and I disagree with you
Okay.
to that point. I think that you shouldn't pace yourself with someone who's at the same level as you to a degree. I think you should find someone who's a year ahead of you. Like when I joined the industry, you were a year ahead of me and that was like, okay, how can I catch up to Tom as quickly as possible? Was the competitive piece to it. And like the same thing, like I started playing tennis this year. I don't play tennis with people who are in my lesson. I go and I sub in the league and I get my ass kicked week after week. But I've gotten so much better because of the element of playing with people who are better than me because they're going to do things that are like, oh, that's so much more effective. And you're watching the results and it also shows you that it is possible. So you look at like I don't know the exact speed, maybe it's a 3 minute mile or something like that. The first guy to break through that, like after that, everyone hit that time, and now it's like super common. But people believed it was impossible to do this. So having someone who's that little bit ahead of you drives you that much further. I think there's a strong preference for people to be like, okay, so and so joined the same day as me. We're 1 year in, and I feel great because I'm 2 files further than them. And it's like, "Yeah, sure, there's someone else there crushing at like 150 files this year. Why don't you look at what they're doing for their business? Because even if they have a full team, shows you how to grow the team. If they have things they've put into place, copy it. Who cares? And grow that way.
I think the hard part to that would be what would be the incentive for that 100 mil producer to partner up with that 20 mil producer?
Sure, but it doesn't have to be 20 to 100. Like you can go, you could go 15 to 20. That's 50
Oh,
grand.
yeah,
That's 50 grand in
that's
revenue
very
that you
minute.
can
Yeah, like, if you're, like, going off of that, like, sure, like, you're in the same league, in my opinion, and I would rather partner up with someone that is doing slightly better than me in terms of, like, production, and then if we're talking straight volume, while there's an argument to be said, if you're in a smaller market and you're doing more transactions, in my opinion, I think you're a bit more successful in the business versus someone that's doing less transactions, higher volume.
100%.
Might be smarter going into a higher mortgage volume market versus a smaller one, but you figure something out. If you're doing a shit ton of transactions, then you've definitely, yeah, you figure something out.
For sure. I think that's a good point to make. Like, and also a good place to look is if you find someone, let's say in like Northern Ontario, we're in Ontario, since this comes to mind. Mortgage size is smaller, but you might get more actual transactions. So let's say they're closing 75 files, but total volume X million, and you're in the GTA, that would be a good person to partner with. You're going to be similar in terms of your ad spend or your marketing dollars or whatever it might be that you're
Yeah.
sharing commonalities there, but they are so much of a better client communicator. Like they're doing so many things that you're not, that if you apply that to your market, you're going to have
Yeah, that's a
same.
great point, man. Because like it's not always just about the volume and the transactions you're doing. Like there's so many different components that go into that. And for me, I'd rather just have like a general sense. Like I can tell like if that person is going to succeed in the business, like I have a good feeling of certain people, and I'd rather align with someone that I just have that gut instinct. Like, yeah, that person is going to do well.
For sure. And I think another piece is it doesn't have to be one person. Like obviously
Yeah,
we have this connection here, but we also have our buddy Kyle, who's with, and he's underwriter for another broker, and we share a lot that way, communication wise, that we're kind of pacing with him as well. And you could
different
have
different strong suits too.
exactly.
Like,
You could have 3 to 4 people that you're like, "Hey, this is kind of my subgroup. We share number of files, we share what we're working on, tips and tricks that way, and collaborating, but also use them as someone to pace with. Like if someone jumps on your weekly group chat or your call, whatever it might be, and says, "Hey, like I just did 5 realtor presentations. I just followed up with all my clients, all my variable clients from the last 2 years." You're gonna be like, shit, okay, they're really moving. And that should get you moving. And that's the
yeah.
competitive piece versus like, you know, hooray for you, Tom. Good job,
You
buddy.
everyone gets a gold medal.
Yeah, fuck that.
Yeah,
Like go try to beat them. It's gonna
yeah,
beating them is gonna be better for yourself, obviously, but it's actually going to be better for them because it's gonna push them to beat you, hopefully.
yeah,
And the cycle is just great for everyone going forward.
yeah, I agree with that. I think you gotta have a mix of both. You gotta have that collaboration, of course, we're all for it. Let's just hammer that down and just beat that like a dead horse here. Had a couple of drinks.
You say we're sitting on a horse farm just talking about dead horses.
Yeah, ironic, right? And have that competition too. Like it's certainly healthy to have both. So I think we've really dialed that in, Brandon. Maybe we can transition to what we're doing here. I mean, like we mentioned at the beginning of the episode here, we're masterminding and we're really collaborating with each other. So what's something that you are really looking forward to tonight as we go through everything? Like, what's something that you're hoping to get out of this?
Yeah, I think one thing that is pretty clear to me is that you're a great process guy. You have a lot of systems in place, and I am happy to pick up the phone and call people
Yeah.
and drive files that way. When a file's in my pipeline, I'm on it. Uh, but like the background process and systems and staffing and stuff like that, you have dialed in. I don't have that piece dialed in.
Right.
It's been kind of something I tried to implement, but my system didn't jive with everyone. So going forward, it's something I need to work on, recognizing the flaw in myself, to try to control too much there. So to take some of the things you've implemented and steps there and apply them to my business.
Awesome. I'd probably say I'm the same way. Like when I think of you, I think you're really good at sales, and especially with your discovery call, you've got that dialed in. So I'm really looking forward to touching on that and seeing what you're doing there, and also with your follow up system. Like we touched on this last episode, but it really seems like you have your follow up system with everything when it comes to leads. Talking to your realtors about it, having that in place, like I really want to take that away from it because I know that's what I'm lacking in my business is really that follow-up system after a couple touches here and there for those clients.
For sure. And I think that's another important piece to dive in on, is just to say, where am I weak? And don't be too proud to say that you're weak at something.
Oh yeah.
I think that a lot of opportunities are missed because people are like, I don't want to admit that I suck at something. I suck at a lot of things.
Yeah.
But recognizing the suck is really good,
That's the
because
start, man. It's the start.
it's a start to
Yeah.
fixing it. And also saying, seeing someone else exceed in something else, go to that person and say, hey, you're amazing at this. How are you doing it? It's like most people are happy to share, especially if you're in a market that's like, you know, there's people listening to this who are in the States or who are out west. Why not reach out to
Yeah.
Tom and
You're not
I
gonna
in
lose anything
Ontario?
there.
There's no risk to you losing
Actually,
your
with
market
that being
share.
said though, so here's a scenario. You're in a small town market, maybe a population of 20 to 30,000. Would you share every single idea and strategy that you have in your business if you know that broker is in that same market?
No, I wouldn't.
Yeah, I agree.
No,
I agree. That's the
that,
competition
that's the
piece.
competition.
Yeah.
You got to be. It's a business at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Like McDonald's isn't sharing their marketing strategy with Wendy's and saying, "Oh, we were going to do this," and try to,
Yeah.
like, you're
There's
competing.
a
You
there's a
have to
fine
have
line
a
there.
balance,
Yeah.
and it's a fine line. But there's also, there's, if I'm in a market of 20 to 30,000 people, why not find another market 20 to 30,000
Yeah,
people that's
exactly.
10 hours away and see what that person's doing? Because
Yeah.
for all you know, they're banging out 150 files a year, and they're living in a great life.
With
So
that being said, though, I know like any information you put out there, there's probably like five, let's call it 10% of people listening will actually apply it.
100%.
So there's that aspect to it too that I always think of. Like I love sharing and yeah, like I'm happy doing it. On top of that, like I know only 10% of really of people are gonna apply it. So
For sure. That's like any coaching, any training, anything like that. Like
anything.
anyone who hears it, not everyone's going to do it, or people will do portions of it that fit their system. That's like anything. Eh, Touching on that point too, we have added a realtor course in the show notes. It should be there,
Should be there for this
through
episode.
through our company that Tom and I own together, Leadline. So if you want to grow your realtor business, that's a good place to start there. Um,
Yeah,
maybe 10% of you will do it.
so
We'll
maybe be
know.
the one of the 10, like be included in that 10%.
Yeah,
That's our ask for you.
yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, share your results so that we can compete against them.
Absolutely, man. So if again, if you want to get free like literally everything from A to Z for realtors, if you want to build your business on referrals, I mean that is low hanging fruit there. The course covers everything. So highly recommend you check it out. Show notes, go to our Instagram, look at our link tree. The downloadable link is right there. Reach out to us and we will provide access to you for that course.
And for our Canadian listeners, A to Z, it is there. Um, just gotta correct you there, man. That's
What did I
that's
say,
why
Z?
you said Z, and I've had this debate in my household
I
with
usually
my
say Z, so that's
with my
really weird.
5-year-old.
Maybe a
Yeah,
couple drinks in me. I say Z.
to become American. So yeah, it's all there. The resources are there. Going forward, obviously, find your tribe to collaborate with, but find those people too that push you to become a better version of yourself personally, but also a better broker slash agent, so that your business can thrive as a result.
Thrive with collaboration and competition.
Yeah, not collaboration over competition. It's an and.